All right, let's do some examples with molar mass and the molar calculations. So what is the molar mass of hydrogen atoms, the atomic mass? So if you look at H, all right, look at H, it's 1.008, right? So I'm going to go with two decimal places, 1.01 grams per mole. And that's what I'll use for H. Number 2 says, what's the molar mass of hydrogen molecules, H2? Well, if H is 1.01, and there's two H's, I have to just double that, and I get 2.02 grams per mole. Right? And now, this is 2.02 grams per mole. What we did not write is that it's grams of hydrogen per 1 mole of hydrogen, right? We didn't write that down, but that's part of the unit, just to be clear on that. All right. Number 3, what's the molar mass of carbon atoms? All right, the atomic mass. Look at carbon, it's number 6, C, right? Carbon is C, and that's 12.01 grams per mole. All right, what's the molar mass of C60? Well, that's 60 C's, so I take 60 times 12.01. And that turns out to be 720.60 grams per mole. Now that's 5 sig figs. I only need 3 sig figs, so 721, but you know, in your calculations, feel free to use all 5 of them. What's the molar mass of oxygen? Now, well, it depends. If it says oxygen, oxygen is 16 grams per mole. O2, oxygen gas, is 32 grams per mole. It's 2 oxygens, right? So mine just says oxygen. Some of them might say oxygen gas, so it depends on what it says. So if yours says oxygen gas, it's O2. How many moles of carbons and if I could speak today, how many moles of carbon atoms are there in 60 grams? It should be of carbon. Should be of. So I have 60 grams of carbon. Well, what unit has to go on the bottom? It has to be grams of carbon. And we're looking for how many moles? 1 mole of C. Well, 1 mole of C is 12.01 grams of C. And if we do that, I'm going to get 5, right? Because 60 divided by 12 is 5. It's, 4.99. Well, I have 1 sig fig. 5 is perfect. Number 7. What's the mass of 7 moles of nitrogen molecules? So 7.0 moles and 2. I'm looking for the mass. Moles on top, mole has to go on the bottom. So 1 mole and 2. Well, N is 14.01 grams per mole. And we got 2 of those. So that's 2802. And if we do that, I get 196.14 grams per mole. Now, 2 sig figs, 1, 2, so that's 2.0 times 10 to the second grams, not grams per mole. Whoa, grams, it's not erasing. There we go. Grams, N2, grams N2. There we go. Number 8. What's the mass of 3 moles of water? Well, we know that, 1 mole of water. Well, what's water weigh? Well, hydrogen's 1.01, and there's 2 of them, plus 16, right? So that's what, 1802? And if we do that, I get 3 times 18 would be, what, 54? Which in this case is 50 grams H2O for 1 sig fig. All right, how many moles of methane are there in 64 grams of methane? So I have 64 grams of CH4. Well, what goes on the bottom? Grams of CH4. 1 mole CH4 on top. Well, carbon is 12.01 plus 4 times 1.01. So that looks like it's 16.05. So 64 basically divided by 16 is 4 moles of CH4. All right, the next one. How many gold atoms are there in 25 grams? So now we're looking at atoms, right? How many atoms are there in our 25 grams of gold? So we take our 25 grams of AU. Well, what has to go on the bottom? It has to be grams of gold, right? And so we have, if you look at the periodic table, it says 196.97 grams of AU is 1 mole of AuO. All right, but we're not done, because we need to do 1 mole of AU is how many atoms? 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd AU atoms. All right, we get, I got 7.64 times 10 to the 22nd AU atoms. There we go. Last one. How many aspirin molecules? There's our question. How many aspirin molecules are there in 800 milligrams of aspirin? All right, so I'm starting with 800 milligrams of aspirin. C9H8O4. Now, I'm going to put milligrams on the bottom. So there's 1,000 milligrams of C9H8O4 and 1 gram of C9H8O4. Now I'm in grams. Okay, now the molar mass. I have 9 times 12.01 plus 8 times 1.01 plus 4 times 16.00, right? Because carbon's 12.01 grams per mole. Hydrogen's there's 8 hydrogens at 1.01 grams per mole, and there are 4 oxygen at 16. So we have, if we add those up, I get 180.17. So it's 180.17 grams of C9H8O4 is 1 mole. All right. So now moles has to go on the bottom. 1 mole C9H8O4 happens to be 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. C9H8O4. And I'm done. Right? And so if we do that math, right, milligrams is going to cancel, grams is going to cancel, moles will cancel, I'm left with molecules. And I get 2, now I have 4 sig figs, 2.674 times 10 to the 21st molecules of C9H8O4.